It is officially football season, so we're here to talk about high school football.
Yes.
We are your guide once again to Pitt County and area high school football. If you haven't seen the show in the past, I'll do a quick reintroduction here. I'm your host, Ronnie Woodward. Here's Tony Castleberry. You will see at games. You'll probably see some games as well. Jim Gentry is our sports editor. As I said, we're here to preview games each week. And this is week one. So, guys, are you ready to do this?
Yeah, I think we're ready. I'm going to do a little something different, something a little crazy. I'm going to pick one team to win and another team to lose. What do you think about that? I mean, I know it's a little unorthodox, but I thought that's what I'd go with this year.
And also, I think we should mention the name of the show is the Fearless Football Forecast.
Amen.
Nice.
Good call. Good call.
Perfect, perfect segue there. Do you have like a headgear thing, Lee Corso style thing?
We're not going to do
We're
that.
Not doing that.
Not in the budget.
I agree. I agree.
We can't even afford makeup, obviously.
We do pick games as part of our spiel here.
Yes.
And we usually catch some slack for it. So I guess keep doing that. You know. That's how that works. But enough of the nonsense, Tony. We'll get to the first game here.
Yes.
An in-county matchup. Week one, D.H. Conley goes to North Pitt.
Yeah, an interesting matchup. Conley coming off a good year. North Pitt, kind of a so-so year, but they're in a really tough conference, a physical conference, as physical as you're going to find, you know, in that classification. And from what I've read from, you know, your preview of Conley, it seems like, you know, they've got some uncertainty with their quarterback, but they've got good quality players around him. That'll be an interesting matchup, and you know that it's going to be physical. I think both those teams are ready to go at each other.
Okay. Now, as you said, we have to pick this game.
Yeah, I'm going to pick a winner.
So, who's your winner?
And I think Conley's going to win.
Okay.
I think that North Pitt's one of those teams that will probably start kind of finding its groove once they get close to conference. They would hope so anyway. Yeah. But I feel like Conley's going to start off with a win.
Okay, Jim?
Yeah, even though I think I'm going to go with Conley as well, even though they're starting a freshman quarterback and with Holton Ahlers, I think North Pitt's replacing a heck of a lot on offense.
Yeah.
It takes a little time sometimes to get those things figured out. Even though Ahlers is a new quarterback, they got Miles Taylor back in Conley's backfield,
player,
and he was just a monster for them last year.
Yep.
So they have a back they can rely on. So right now I just got to give Conley the edge. I just think size-wise with just that experience in the backfield, I think Conley the edge.
All right, I agree. I'm going to go with Conley as well. As we touched on, a weird mix with the Vikings of youth and experience and different things going on, but I think across the board they're deeper, they have more talent. I think the question mark's kind of out about North Pitt. I think they could scuffle here a few games early into the season. So Conley, I think, has a pretty decisive edge there. Next game, Jim, could be a close one here. Wilson Hunt is at South Central.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup because even though South Central's 4-7, last year they started heating up toward the end of the season.
They did.
It seemed like they got things figured out and they were starting to play really well. It was just a little too late to do anything about it. And now we're talking about Wilson Hunt too, one of the best 3A teams in the state last year.
Consistent.
Yeah.
Yes, and,
every year.
So it's a really interesting matchup. South Central's going to host it, and you know the thing South Central always has going for it is that big running back, Sean Furlow, is going to be just he's already been widely recruited, but still you can imagine there are going to be a lot of college coaches out there on Friday nights to see him play, and it'll be really interesting to see. And I know Ronnie touched on it in his preview, which you'll see in our football tab that comes out this week. Yep. That they're just trying to find some weapons to put around him so teams don't key on him.
Yeah.
And fill the box up with 8 guys and try to slow him down.
Some compliments to Furlow could go a long way for that team this year. Something to watch for sure. All right, Jim, who are you going to pick in that one?
Man, this is a tough one. I was kind of going back and forth on this one. And earlier I was thinking Wilson Hunt, but I'm going to go with South Central. I think they're going to carry over that momentum from last year. I'm going to bet on Furlow until they lose, I think.
I'm gonna piggyback off of that perfectly. I want to go with Furlow being the best player on the field that night, Friday night. I think that goes a long way.
Yeah.
A senior, a running back. I know there's some question marks at quarterback. Majestic Jordan, who was a defensive lineman last year, which is kind of odd. But yeah, I'll go with South Central. I guess you could kind of consider it an upset. And I'm covering that game, so I don't want to go. I don't want to go week one and have people yelling at me in the stands about you picking against us if they do end up winning. So I'm going to go with the homer pick and pick South Central.
Okay, I'm not covering that game, so I'm going to pick Hunt. I'm interested to see how Jordan's going to work out at quarterback. I'm talking about like just basic getting the ball to Furlow. If they can do that enough, South Central's got a fighting chance for sure, but we don't know that much about how that kid's going to make that transition. I don't know anything about Hunt. I'm just going to pick them.
Yeah.
They had a better record last year, so I think they'll win.
I like it. That's a good pick.
And I'm not going to be there again.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an upset special. I think picking
Yeah.
South Central in that one, but we'll go with the home team. See what happens.
Yeah.
Next game here, Jade Rose is traveling to Raleigh to take on Athens Drive. Could be maybe a lopsided matchup on paper, but you never know. Again, this is week 1, so we're kind of doing
Anything
this
can happen.
with limited information, kind of on the fly. But I did cover that game last year in Greenville, and Rose was up 28-0 at halftime.
Wow.
Really blew them out.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys returned for the Rampants. Cornell Powell, Copeland Spells, a new quarterback that has some experience. Gio Williams, a really good running back.
They're big too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Rose team is. I don't know if they're a state final or a close to state final team like they had last year. They have to go on a good run, but I think week 1 they take care of business. They go to Athens Drive and get a win. So that was part of my pick there.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Rampants.
Yeah, I think I will too. I mean, I just feel like they have too many weapons.
Yeah.
Now again, we don't know anything about Athens Drive, but I think that team would be hard pressed to run as many athletes, pure athletes out there as Rose is going to be able to do.
You're right.
Yeah. And as we talked about, Spell's a difference maker, Powell's a difference maker. I mean, and defensively, I feel like Rose gets after it pretty good too. I think they'll win pretty easily.
Okay, Jim.
So I was confused at first. I thought this was Athens, Greece. And I thought that road trip might have an
That's
effect
a
on
long
it. But you
trip.
mentioned this is the Athens Drive in Raleigh. So I think I'm going to give Rose the pick Rose in this one. The big question mark for Rose is besides
Can you pick that paper up?
is that they lost a lot on defense.
They did.
Particularly they're two big
Street.
guys and Pleasant.
Yeah.
And are they going to have replacements for that? And how much of a difference is that going to make this year?
Yeah.
But I think they're just going to have a little way too much for Athens Drive this year. I think we'll see a repeat of what we saw last year.
I think we're maybe a few weeks away from seeing that Rose defense as far as what they're going to be made of.
Yeah.
We might not this Friday. No offense, Athens, but we'll see. Next game, Tony, Riverside at Aidan Griffin.
Yeah.
Probably a close game as well.
It always has been
Yeah.
since they've started playing each other. I wouldn't expect anything different. I would expect Aidan Griffin to start the season better than they started last year.
Yeah.
And I know that Coach Cornwell and his crew are wanting that to happen as well. One of the wild cards here is Coach Todd Light joining the Aidan Griffin as a defensive coordinator. I think that's a great hire. I really do. I mean, Light's a guy who has experience. He was basically handpicked to, succeed Greg Thomas, who's a legend over at J.H. Rose. I mean, it was one of those deals where it just didn't work out for him, but I think he's eager. I think he's hungry. I think he's ready to kind of whip those guys into shape. That said, Riverside brings the heat, man. They're athletic every year. They're hard to keep up with in the run game. Aidan Griffin is one of those, line up a bunch of big dudes and go right at you. That's Cornwell's style. It'll be a contrast to styles, and that's always fun football.
Yeah, that's true. You're covering that game Friday.
I am covering that game,
Okay.
so guess what?
So your turn.
I'm picking Aidan Griffin. I feel like home field advantage does count for something.
Especially with that team.
Yeah, and they got a Littlefield Lunatics thing going this year. I saw on Twitter, as a matter of fact. Yeah, so I feel like the kids are going to show up and find form. It'll be nice and loud out there. I feel like Aidan Griffin will edge them, but I think it'll be a close game.
Okay, Jim.
Yeah, I'm going with Aidan Griffin too. I think they really grind out a win this year. I mean, I think this game always seems like it's close when these two teams play, but that Aidan Griffin defense should be pretty impressive, especially on that defensive line. So I'm really excited to see those guys play. I just think they'll have a little too much this year for Riverside. I think Aidan Griffin just really grinds one out.
Yeah, I wish I knew more about Riverside, but unfortunately we don't yet. But Justin Brown, defensive lineman for Aidan Griffin, is committed to East Carolina, 6'3", 335 on the roster.
That's huge in that classification.
A school like that, that's a big-time player.
Yeah.
He missed a lot of last year with a knee injury. Hopefully he stays healthy. I think if he does, especially the first week here, I think he makes a difference. As Jim mentioned, there's some other players on that defense. I'll go with Aidan Griffin's defense in a close game. But I think that's a really good game this week, maybe the game of the week.
Yeah, and I know one thing about Riverside, it's beside a river.
There you go.
So there you go.
There you go. All right. Last game, Jim. Farmville Central at Plymouth. Farmville coming off a huge year last year.
Big time
It's
turnaround.
an interesting matchup because you get, like I said, Farmville Central came out of nowhere last year and got 8 wins and just looked really good.
Yeah.
Plymouth's been one of those teams that's just been rolling the last 3 or 4 years. They're always making deep runs in the playoffs. They're just really competitive. The question will be see if Plymouth can continue their recent good stretch and whether Farmville Central can build off last year's last year's just turnaround. That was so impressive.
It was.
You know,
I
they're,
agree.
they're losing the best player, well, our offensive player of the year, Josh
It was
Jones.
incredible, yeah.
But Shaq Parker's back.
He's good.
That piece is back, and Scott Gardner doesn't make any grasp of what they're going to do.
Yeah, I love that about
They're
him.
going to
Yeah.
they're going to hit you, and they're going to try to power the ball up the field, and if you can stop them, great. If not,
Yeah, that was a
you're out
great
of luck.
quote from
Yeah.
him.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see this matchup. I'd be a lot of fun if Farmville's as competitive as they were last year.
Yeah.
It just makes things a lot of fun. We have so many good teams in this county.
I agree.
That was neat, really neat
Yeah.
to see last year.
Kind of came out of nowhere too, which was even better.
Definitely, yeah. Who are you picking in that one?
I'm going to go with another upset here. I would think
Hey,
it'd be an
now.
upset. I'm going to go with Farmville Central.
All right.
I'm not picking them because they're the local team, and I'm having to go to Plymouth. I mean, they're on the road, but I think they're going to carry this over. I think that team's got a lot of confidence right now, and that coaching staff seems really confident.
Yeah.
I think they're going to carry this thing over. If they get a win at Plymouth to start the season off, watch
Yeah,
out.
That'd
Yeah.
be
Watch
huge.
out.
Yeah, I like that. But I'm gonna go with Plymouth, just kind of based on, as we've said, the records
The
last few
history.
years. Seems like offensively, especially, they score a ton of points. They're kind of a machine. I think it could be high scoring, kind of a crazy wild card type of game. Who knows? But I'll go with Plymouth as the favorite there.
Okay, I like, the idea of, I like the carryover factor, Jim. I like what you said about that. And they got nothing to lose.
No.
Farmville's
Yeah.
going to go into that game just completely like, hey, man, everybody pretty much expects us to get beat. Sometimes that means the upset. However, I'm going to pick Plymouth. I just think they're too good.
Nice tease. I like it. All right, well, there's our week 1 edition. Thanks for tuning in. And as Jim mentioned a few minutes ago, grab Friday's paper. Our preview tab is in there. A ton of ECU info, high school info, rosters, schedules, everything you need. And then go watch the games Friday night and check back with us next week. We'll see you then.